We're back from our delivery and commissioning in Charleston, South Carolina, which was about the second week of June. We got underway, and after a stop for commissioning for about 1 week, where we added a stabilizer, the Magnus Master stabilizer, or the rotor, Alison joined me for the majority of the trip back, which was approximately 10 days.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, exactly.
Yeah.
All told, we're sitting here around the middle of July. We've been home for about 1 week and have been enjoying it and sharing it with our children, our friends, and family. My mom came on, and it was just a really great sort of homecoming, I would say. As we look at the Cummins hour count, we're about 122 hours on the engine, the 380 horsepower Cummins diesel. We have about 40 hours on the generator. I was just looking down at the odometer, or the hour count on the generator. It's been a warm summer up here, so we've been using it underway occasionally. So yeah, we've had it for a month, and we have 40 hours on our generator, primarily serving for the air conditioning, which is on right now. A little bit about our journey highlights. We primarily stopped at, I should say primarily, we exclusively stopped in marinas. We did not anchor at all while underway on our inaugural trip. That's primarily because, one, we hadn't experimented with anchoring yet, or tested the anchoring yet. I know it's going to hold well and hold great, but in that first 10-day period with Alison, I didn't want to have any anchor drag scenarios in unfamiliar waters in the middle of the night. So we exercised, a little bit of a precaution and went into a marina every night, which we absolutely loved. We showered, we used laundry facilities, we used golf carts to scoot around town. I mean, we went to marina, bars, restaurants.
We biked to restaurants for dinner. We biked to pick up stuff at a local West Marine that we needed.
I got a haircut.
Yep.
A bad haircut, but I got a haircut.
Some really nice spots.
Yeah, I mean, some of our favorite marinas that we stopped at, we'll share right here with you. One was in Belhaven, called River Forest Manor. It was just an unbelievable place. River Forest Manor in Belhaven. The owner is a gentleman by the name of Larry and his wife. Super people. We went to Coin Jock, which was great. It was such a fun atmosphere. Really fun, right? We went to Cape Charlestown Dock, which is really in the south and east portion of the Chesapeake as you leave, sort of the intracoastal waterway, and you hit the Chesapeake. That was our first stop. That was Cape Charlestown Dock. Really nice people there, great facilities, great bar, great view.
Great summer town, lots of families getting ice cream, walking around. Really a nice place. And
then we went to maybe our favorite one, which was called Spring Cove in the Solomon Islands, Maryland. I think it's actually Solomon's, Maryland. And it was really it felt like a camp, like an adult camp. Like there was woods everywhere. There was a great bar, great pool.
There were grills everywhere. You could bring your own food out and cook your dinner or your lunch, which we did.
They had a marina car for $10. We had the car for multiple hours, and we ran. Actually, I think that's where I got my haircut.
That's where you got
I think I got my shabby haircut there in Spring Cove. But I can't speak enough about Spring Cove. They also have a Zimmerman Marine outpost there, so if you have any needs, for your vessel underway, there's a great relationship between Spring Cove and Zimmerman Marine. And then as we left the Delaware and made our round, we stopped at Cape May in the Canyon Club, which was a lot of fun. That was
really
actually
nice.
The 4th of July. We stayed there. And due to high winds, we could only travel for half a day. So we actually pulled in around like 12 noon.
Around noon, and we got to enjoy that place for the whole day and night, and went into Cape May and walked around, and that was a great place as well.
Absolutely. And then the next day, it was severe high winds, but we could go in the intracoastal waterway. And because our Helmsman 38 only has a 4-foot draft, and I reached out to some local experts and people who had knowledge, we actually went into the much discussed and often maligned New Jersey intracoastal waterway, and we had a great run. So we were able to go approximately 4 to 5 hours north and chip away with our final leg heading into New York City by going from Cape May to Atlantic City,
right.
and then ultimately to Barnegat Inlet,
right.
where we stayed overnight, and then the following morning we did approximately a 10 or 11 hour trip.
All the way home.
All the way home. It was a beautiful day eventually, but as you've seen in one of my videos prior, it was a very fogged in and thick day on the water, but we had all our tools. If you haven't seen that video, you'll see it there on our channel. So those were some of our favorite marinas. Since we've been home now in Long Island Sound about 1 week, we are now practicing anchoring and getting a feel for how much scope we want to give out, wind conditions, current conditions, etc. So, our plan moving forward is to sprinkle in some marinas. Even at 40 feet overall at $2 a foot, you're looking about $80 a foot or $80 a day to be in a marina, which in our opinion is well worth it for all of those amenities which we just discussed. We actually like getting off the boat, meeting people, having a cocktail, lounging around at the pool and meeting people. But I don't think we want to do it every single day.
Right.
So moving forward, we'll be probably doing 2 days on the anchor, 1 day at a marina, or some sort of cadence like that. All right. So what we're going to do now is change positions, give you another view. Right now we're in the pilot house. We're looking forward, and this is sort of heading back towards the Salon. So what we'll do is we'll switch camera position and talk to you a little bit about our experience with the domestic systems here, the head, the shower, the galley, the air conditioning units, and for that, Alison will be discussing that. So, one moment, we'll do that.
So here I am standing in right in the galley, and I just want to talk first, before I point everything out to you here, I just want to talk about how comfortable this boat is and how nice it was to stay on it. And now that we're home, we actually miss being on it, and we were contemplating last night just actually spending the night because it is so comfortable. First of all, the air conditioning, the AC works amazing. There's a separate system for this area and the pilot house, and then there's one for the cabin down in front. And underway, there were times when we had the AC going. We loved having the doors and windows opening and getting the fresh air, but there were times when it definitely was too hot in the summer in the Northeast. So we would have this one on, and later in the evening we would flip over and put it on in the cabin and turn this one off. You could have both on at the same time, but we chose to just conserve a little energy. Down in our cabin, we have a separate, as you've seen on the tour before, a separate video, we have a separate head and shower. Both worked flawlessly throughout our trip back. The toilet has different settings. You don't need to buy special toilet paper, and if you need to have an extra flush, there's a button for that. Just a light flush, there's a button for that. The shower worked great as well. There was ample space for us to both turn and take a nice shower, and the water gets sucked down by an electric sump pump. So turn that on, the water comes down and just gets sucked right out of the boat. Everything worked great as far as that. And now the galley was really comfortable to manage in. You can see here lots of counter space. We have the almost full-size refrigerator and freezer down here, which when I first saw it, I thought, oh gosh, that's small. But if you look inside, there really was a ton of space for everything we needed. We did our breakfast, our lunch, even some dinners on the boat. In here we have space for our coffee maker. We have all kinds of paper goods. And you can see my arm is like all the way in there. It's a really deep cabinet with a lot of space. We have the cooktop, which is induction, so we have special pots that are magnetic. You put something on here, it heats up immediately. It's so fast, so cooking was like a no-brainer. And then this nice oven, it can work as a microwave, a convection oven. It's like almost like one of those speed oven type things that maybe you have had in your home that is fantastic. And then I just want one other thing I wanted to point out here is you may notice this on the counter. When we leave, we plug this in. It's a dehumidifier, so we have it plugged in here, and there's a hose that just releases the water right into the sink, so we don't have to worry about water getting anywhere, and it just pulls all the moisture out of the air. So That's what I really wanted to talk to you
Yeah,
about.
I mean, I think this was like, listen, this is buying a brand new second home, and you hope for the best, but you never know what you're going to get.
Right.
I was told by Scott Helker that there's 24,000 man hours in constructing one of these, and when you put it in the water for commissioning for the very first time, you don't know. You think you've de-risked and took everything out through the manufacturing process, but you never know. What I would say is the domestic systems, air conditioning, toilets, heads, showers, the galley has been wonderfully
Seamless.
Yeah,
simple.
and that little dehumidifier, $70 on Amazon, and it has like 7,000 reviews. And I was a little suspect about it, but it's so simple, and you literally just plug it in, you put the tube right into the galley, into the sink, pardon me, and when we leave, it's perfect. It's just, the place smells wonderful, it's clean, it's not heavy or damp in here, so strongly suggest the $80, $70 Amazon special. If I remember the name of it, I'll put it in the description in this video. So listen, I think this is great. What we're going to do is take a quick break, reposition the camera for yet another perspective, and we'll talk about the last bit of this video. All right, our third location on the very spacious and massive Helmsman Trawlers 38E. Now we're in the Salon. Some people call it the Saloon. But yeah, it's a great space. It's spacious. We've had people here now that we're home step aboard for the first time, and they're like, wow, it's like it is a full beam. You can kind of get a sense of the perspective, like we're in the corner and reaching up, like you kind of get a sense of spatially sort of like how much room there is here. It's really one of the top elements or dynamics that sold us on this boat was just the volume and how you feel inside of it. Again, we have the blinds drawn because it's just another very bright day this summer in July in the Northeast. So this last part we want to talk about trip planning. The waters that we were traveling were really new to both of us. We've been on the Intracoastal in Florida quite a bit over the years. We've been throughout the Caribbean. We've been throughout New York. But like the Carolinas and Virginia and Maryland, that was all new to us. So for us each day, we wanted to understand planning from both a weather's perspective and also a destination perspective. Like, how's it going to be underway and where the heck are we going? And so, like you at home, you probably use a variety of tools, and we'll talk a little bit about the tools we used. Most of our tools were, like right here, apps on iPads, it's the year of 2024, and yet we still use paper, and this is the Waterway Guide. I'm not a paid sponsor by them, but it was a nice resource to have, like paper charts, to just sort of like curl up at night in bed and take a look at like what's out there. So the Waterway Guide has local editions. We have the northern one, which was Cape May, New Jersey, and home. They also have the Florida element, Bahamas, the Great Lakes, and all of this information is actually also an app that Alison used quite a bit to great success. So we'll talk about that app.
On my phone, I was able to pull up sort of where we were, and when we realized we needed to stop at a certain point, I could figure out that location, zoom in, and click on these different
Icons.
marinas. There are icons for marinas, for anchorages, and for yacht clubs and fuel. And so it was one day I clicked on something that didn't look like a typical marina, and I realized it was a yacht club. And I called them up and said, we're at a yacht club up in the Northeast, and I think it might be a reciprocal. And they looked into it, and they called me back, and they were so kind. And
was it the High Bar? Was it High Bar?
It was the High Bar Yacht Club in Barnegat on LBI in New Jersey, in the Jersey Shore.
Super people.
And so great.
Yep.
Like, helped us come in, helped us with our electrical hookup, really just great people in a beautiful marina. On a beautiful island.
So I mean, in terms of destination planning, Waterway Guide is one great one. If you just want to understand how many nautical miles you think you can knock off in a day, and then also route planning, we really lean in on Navionics. Mm-hmm. We've used Navionics for probably a decade. whether it's for a few hours out in the Long Island Sound with the kids on the center console, or for trip planning in the Caribbean. We use Navionics, and we really find it to be a great tool. It's not the best tool, but it's a very strong, durable, reliable tool. So Navionics is probably our go-to trip planning tool for route planning, miles. You can also take a look at marinas and anchorages through there. We would supplement that with what Alison would do with the waterway guide as another great resource. And then ultimately, if we wanted to book a marina, we would use an online app called Docwa, D-O-C-K-W-A, Docwa. And it's literally an app. You type in Barnegat Inlet, and it will give you an array of those marinas that sort of are part of their network. And then you literally say, I'm a 40-foot length overall. Here's the day in, the night, or the day out. And they say, stand by, we're going to confirm this for you. You get a confirmation, and it's booked. I mean, you don't have to talk to anyone. It's really super. In terms of weather apps and conditions and understanding, go, no-go situations, we use Windy. We use the free, not the paid or premium bit. Windy we found to be pretty accurate. And here's a tip for you. When you're out on the water, open up the Windy app where you are and see how accurate Windy is saying where you are actually. And what we found was
most of the time they were pretty on point with that. It was really helpful.
Yeah, wind, wave, swell, period of the swell. We would be out in the middle of the Chesapeake, and we would open up Windy and be like, yeah, this is pretty accurate. So Windy was a great one. We love AccuWeather app just to get a sense of thunderstorm activity. Radar, right? We would have the live radar going on the app. We would have Windy for weather. So those are great ones. And then here's what we found as a little insider tip or hack is we're members of Boat US, and we would actually call Boat US in certain periods where we thought there might be shoaling or there could be some sort of inlet negotiation issues. And so we would actually call up Boat US and that's in that unique marketplace and say, hey, we're members. We're going to be heading your way the day after tomorrow. Could you give us some tips for entering this inlet? Or, we see some shoaling on Navionics. Can you give us a little tip? And those people couldn't have been more gracious.
Even down to giving us the specific buoy number.
Yeah, beacon day marker buoy numbers.
When you get to near this one, just watch out. There's shoaling, or it's a little shallow, or it's a little tight. And so they were extremely helpful.
Yeah. I'm looking at my iPad right now, and I probably have 15 apps. I've got Tide apps, coordinate apps. I've got Anchor Pro apps. I've got Marine Traffic app. Tide Alert, Marine Weather.
Oh, and then don't forget Nebo.
Oh, Nebo. We had never even really heard of Nebo. I think I heard about it before, but really not on my radar.
Yeah.
And then we're down in North Carolina, and we're next to two liveaboards who said, you got to get Nebo. And they kept on hitting us over the head, you got to get Nebo, got to get Nebo. And I'm like, fine, I'll get Nebo. I think it's like $40 a year, and it is a wonderful tool. How did we use Nebo?
So we, first of all, for all the people back home who wanted to know where we were each day, and who were worried about us, we sent them a link, and it tracked us for them. So each morning they could wake up and see where we were, and they could follow the route of our boat.
Yep. So high safety quotient.
Yeah, and then another way we used it was Greg would look ahead on the app and find other Nebo users.
Like geography, like a day ahead of us or an afternoon ahead of us.
And he could, within the app, he was able to message those other users, and boaters are so friendly, and they were so willing to give us, this is what it's like where we are today.
Conditions and sea state.
And, and we're going to stay here for the night because tomorrow it's predicted to be not so great. And so they would give us advice on go or no go.
Yeah, no, it was great, particularly around the Chesapeake, CD, Canal, and then the Delaware. There's not a lot of options in the Delaware, and so that body of water in particular can prove to be challenging. And so I was able to communicate the morning of our trip to say, what are you guys seeing out there? How are the conditions looking? and it's like instant messaging. So
Yeah.
Nebo is a great app. Nebo, Nebo.
And in fact, we joined with another boat. We found a buddy boat that we went through that part of the Intracoastal in New Jersey that was a little bit tight and that we were both a little nervous about doing, and we did it together and we messaged the whole way through.
Yep.
And so that was really nice as well.
Yeah.
Another great way to use it.
Yeah. So this video is not a one-take video. This is going to be a splice and dice edit. So hopefully the sound, the mixing all came out well. If it didn't, sorry, we're still working on all of that. But in this video, we really want to give you our impressions of our trip, what we think about the domestic systems or the living systems on board. We want to give you a sense of the tools that we use while underway. So right now it's about mid-July. At the end of this month, our kids are all going to be sort of scattered and doing other things. So we're going to go away for probably about 5 days or a week. We're going to head out towards New England on our trawler. And then in August, middle of August, we're going to be heading out with other folks from this yacht club on a little bit of a flotilla for a few days, which is a lot of fun. And then in late September, October, we'll be heading down to Baltimore for Trawler Fest. So that's probably about a 3-day journey from New York down to Baltimore. We'll be at Trawler Fest, and then we'll head back home. And then after that, we're most likely going to be staying down in that neck of the woods and bringing our boat down to Florida, the Bahamas, and the Keys for the winter of 2024, 2025. So thanks again. Give us your comments. If there's any tools or apps that we should be aware of, we'd love to hear from you, because we think we have all the apps, but if there's other ones out there for weather, for trip planning, let us know. We appreciate it. Anything else?
No, thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.